My name is Steve Mazich, and I teach Pilates here in Phoenix, Arizona, Scottsdale, and I'm also a health coach. And I have a former career in working in IT. So leading up to before I became a Pilates instructor, I was working on computer systems and networking for
Okay.
about 20 years.
All right. Yeah. Nice. That's a big jump from IT to Pilates. So, how did you find Pilates then?
I found Pilates through my best friend's wife, who found it herself when she was going through pregnancy, and him and I had been working out together, throwing weights around at the gym, and just being inconsistent about how often we were going and stuff like that. So it was hard to stay consistent in just the regular gym work, and I had no idea what anything was with regards to Pilates, and so she'd been doing it for a little while and kind of teasing us here and there. You're gonna give it a try. You're gonna give it a try. And then I eventually did, and it was humiliating at first, but there was something about
Yes.
it that made me want to kind of come back and give it a try. And it took 3 or 4 visits before there's something that stuck in my head that I knew I was going to be that I found that attraction to. So
Yes.
and I'm glad it did because I mean it's changed my life multiple times throughout
Really? Eh?
throughout my career. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. In what ways? Just like injury wise or just like perspective sort of thing?
Perspective sort of thing at first because it changed
Yeah.
the way I saw exercise because I had no idea that there was this style of movement and then the equipment. Who could come up with the I mean I still to this day every time I walk into a studio, I look at a reformer. I'm like, how did you come up with this?
Yeah.
so,
So
so
brilliant. Yeah.
it's yeah. So that's so fascinating, and just there's something about the complexity of the movements that attracted my technical brain to it. So just
Yes.
that excitement of knowing that like you can you can still get great exercise without having to be like super strong, huge muscles, it's not about how much you're lifting, but more about like how you can actually move.
Yes. Like the quality
Um,
of the movement.
yeah, yeah. So
Yes.
that sort of changed my way of thinking, and then as I was coming along in my practice, your body starts to change, and again, um, not just the muscles developing and stuff like that, but the way that you actually move. Like if you're actually focusing on trying to stay out of your upper
Yes.
traps, you can finally do that, and you can finally start to feel some of your back muscles develop instead. Or your lats and things like that. So, that changed then too. But then it changed my outlook on just how I want to sort of move forward in this world. Like it changed made me interested in if this sort of exercise can make me feel this good, like what else about this that surrounds this can make me feel good as well? And so, that made me interested
Yes.
in nutrition as well, and then so that sort of led me down that journey, and then here I am
Yes.
as a health coach now.
Yeah, it's Joel Crosby was on, or maybe even in the comment section, he said the way we do Pilates is the way we do life.
I would agree with that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and well, what I was going to say is the way we do Pilates is the way we do life. It's like, is it the way that I like to do Pilates? Does that sort of spill out into the real world, or has my approach to the real world made so much more sense now that I'm doing Pilates regularly? It's interesting.
Yes, it's a little chicken or the egg kind of scenario there, right? Like,
Right? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, because it's true, right? Because I mean, if you think about it, if you are the type of person that likes adventure, likes to be challenged, likes being uncomfortable, you're more inclined to embrace how much Pilates beat you up that first time doing it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing is like, yeah, how do you get people to come back the second time? It's got to be, there's like a
Yeah.
certain type of person that's not totally um, turned off by how hard this is at first, and then
Yes.
wants to come back and give it another go.
Well, yeah, and I would ask that too, right? Like the way that you were taught, your first experience applies obviously influences your, the way that you teach and stuff. So now when you have a new mover or a new person to apply is coming into your studio and into your class, um, what strategies do you use to ensure that they're gonna have a good experience and come back?
It's kind of, I don't have like a set sort of strategy. It's just, how am I going to try to make them feel comfortable in that space? When you are meeting somebody for the first time, you're kind of feeling them out. Well, they already have come into the studio, so they're already interested in what you are offering to a certain extent. So I present it in a way that I feel is most accessible, and start with some questions and sort of see where they're at, see where they're coming from, and then you just kind of go from there.
Yeah, yeah.
Thing about Pilates is that there's something about the movement and the way that the movement feels that's what sells it. It's like
Yes.
that's ultimately what sells it. So it's just that when you
Right.
get to somebody that's got a good plan and a good personality, they can make it a little bit more fun. So that might help seal the deal. But for the most part,
Yes. Yeah.
people are laying there, and I sometimes they're hardly even listening to my cues where I'm saying, just they're doing leg circles, and they're just like, this is the greatest thing ever. I'm like, yeah, I
Yeah.
know, but kind of keep your tailbone down, and
Yeah.
still trying to work here. And they're like, no, no, this
Yeah.
is amazing. Go, okay, we got
Right.
one.
Right. I know it. Yes. And that's it. And I think the other part too is just recognizing the type of learner that you have in the room, right? So there may be people that, the way that you teach them, the way that you present it, maybe more tactile cues, maybe just let them go and just let them just flail the way they want to flail safely. That may be all they need, right? So
Yeah.
reading the body, yeah, is huge too, right?
Yep, yeah, totally. Because you get, and especially when it comes to, because everybody wants to talk to me about like training men and stuff, but you have to sort of pay attention to the body, and you have to sort of let the body move at first, so you kind of see what you're dealing with, because you'll have some guys that'll come in, and they're just used to heavy lifting, so they're going to want to be challenged, and so you know they might think that just even the regular footwork at the beginning, it's just leg presses, right? We'll make it super super heavy. It's like, no, it's not leg presses, but
No, it's not.
maybe for the
Yeah.
first session or two, I might make it heavy, so they've got something to push against, and then
Yes.
say, okay, listen, actually what we're trying to do here has a lot to with how your foot feels on the bar and the way we're moving around in your ankle and stuff like that. And then once they can't get that form right and stuff, right? And they're like, okay, now let
Yes.
me take a spring off. Now do you feel the difference? And then
Yes. Right.
they start to get it that way.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It is a game, right? To some degree, just trying to get people like where you want them to. Okay, let's go over here now, right? Like, it's it's quite the dance.
It's a little dance, and it can be a little awkward at first. But it's they're feeling you out too.
Yeah. Right.
So
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
that's the thing about trying to be a good teacher, is that it's like, I've got different cues, and I'm trying to say things different ways, and sometimes you say it four different ways, and it's just not,
Not
they're just not
connecting.
getting it. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, we're so close. I'm just gonna try this a couple more times, and
Yeah.
then it's like, all right, well, moving on. There are a lot of exercises. Let's try this one.
Right. Yes. Yep. Been there. Do you own your own space, or you're working in a studio? Like, what's your deal in that way?
Yeah, so going back to my friend who brought me into this, her name is Kelly Snalem. She owns the two Remedy studios that I teach at here.
Okay.
There's one in Phoenix, and then there's one in Scottsdale, but geographically they're really only about 15 miles apart from each other. And
Okay.
so yeah, I've been. She also teach a training program too there. That's through the Pilates Sports Center, which is out of California, and I did all my training through there, and taught it a few other places, but now I've settled back, and it's really right where I began. So I'm really happy to be in that space and splitting my time between two studios and just keeping as many people moving as we can.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And do you do like is your health coaching like a separate business outside of there, or do you do everything in-house with those two locations?
Actually, the health coaching is, I'm not actively working with clients on that. That was more sort of just rounding out nutritional knowledge, and I'm still not exactly sure what I'm going to do with that. I love talking about nutrition, of talking about, healthier choices and informed decisions, when it comes
Yes.
to our health. So I thought about doing the one-on-one coaching and stuff, but the first few attempts I made with that, I don't know that that's going to be my strength. So
Yeah, yeah.
I'm focusing on the movement, and then it's nice when people, because so many people, they come into that space, they want to lose weight, and
Yes.
Pilates isn't necessarily geared towards that. I mean, you can do it, but the way that you go about doing it is what's important. So I like to be able to talk to them a little bit about nutrition. I can point them in the right direction, and if they
Yes.
really want to get into some coaching, we could talk about that more. But
So yeah, is applies that you're doing more in a therapeutic perspective, more weight loss, performance? Like, where do you feel like where are most of your clients at in terms of their applies?
it kind of depends. The clients that we see sort of subdivide between either the group fitness or the group classes, or the private training. The private training are folks that are more focused on, they know they've got stuff that needs to be addressed, post injuries, or just chronic pain, issues that they're dealing with constantly, knowing that they need Pilates every day for the rest of their life, but
Right.
they need to
Yes.
take it guided. And then we've got others that are more sort of on their own, and that just want to come in, and they want to be moved. They want that dynamic, sort of fast-paced athletic class. So
Yes.
so we do both.
Hmm. Now, one of the things that you mentioned earlier, and this has kind of been one of those topics that's come up a couple times, is about Pilates being very holistic. Like Joseph Ply is saying, it's a complete exercise system. And it's interesting how nowadays, because of the way that media set it up and marketing and all these different things, we think Pilates, then we think nutrition, then we think resistance training, and they're almost in these separate silos or separate columns. But if you look in like Return to Life through, his book,
Yeah.
he mentions sleep, he mentions nutrition, he mentions play, he mentions, like all these different things. So it's so funny how we've put Pilates in this box, like it's just exercises on the reformer, when really it's contrology. It's this holistic approach to an ease of life, right? It's interesting.
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The study of control, right? That's what contrology is. And then, yeah, why does it stop with just your body and the movements? Why can't it extend out into everything else?
Great.
I just finished reading that biography about him by John Howard Steele, that Caged Lion book. Have you read that yet?
I've seen it. I've seen a lot about it, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Oh, I devoured it. It was interesting to get this man's perspective on the man, and yeah, he talked about that, and talked about, and that, it's been brought up before, how he liked to study just the movements of animals and stuff, and so just to sort of see the way that the body can move around like that, and then, yeah, why wouldn't it spill out into other things? And there are stories about teaching the classes during the 1918 pandemic, and he was teaching
Yes.
large group classes outdoors, and everybody's out getting the sun, soaking up that vitamin D, protecting themselves, and strengthening their immune systems.
Yes.
And that's the thing that's the most fascinating to me about Pilates, is how can this system of exercise be so good at strengthening your immune system? Because
Right.
I
Yeah.
really do feel so much more just robust health-wise,
Yes. Yeah.
than at any other time with any other form of exercise. And that was even before I even started focusing on the way that I eat, the food that I do put into my body. So
Yes.
it's just, yeah, it never ceases to amaze me. The more I think about it and analyze it and talk to people about it, there's always something where it's just like, how does this feel so good? How did he know what to do
Yes.
so intuitively?
Oh, he was so ahead of his time, right? Like, I mean, he's like 50 years ahead of his time, like 100 years ahead of his time in terms of how innovative and how thorough this whole system was. And seeing
Yeah.
like Pat's comment here, like, yes, I love the holistic approach, Pilates, weights, mind muscle connection, yoga, nutrition, and more. So important to take care of all of our systems. It is so true, and I think this is also where it's important to have a network of people that you can refer out to as well.
Yep. Yes.
So like I
Yeah.
love that you're in the nutrition piece. Like I'm like I don't touch nutrition at all. I have like Noreen is a registered dietitian who's a good friend of mine. I know enough to be dangerous, and then I hand them off to her, right? So there's people that I
That's
have
kind
in
of
my
my
world that I could just yeah.
absolutely, and that's been my approach, sort of, is where I'm not sure that health coaching is going to be my strength, but I do know what I'm talking about, so I can certainly get that conversation going and see what a person's goals are, and I can certainly point them in the right direction, and if they're really serious about it, then yeah, we can point them to somebody that can really be better at working with them, and then it's the same thing, when we've got people that can come and help you do stretching or work out like myofascial release and stuff like that. So
Yes.
it's like, even if it's services that aren't necessarily offered there in the studio, it's like, I got a good friend of mine's a chiropractor, he's right down the street. Let me go set you up and see him. So yeah, it's like what we can do to help is great, but then, we know so many other people too that we can refer folks to.
Yeah, yeah. I hear that even in calling yourself a health coach, it's almost more like you don't want to pin yourself down with just Pilates because it is more than Pilates.
Yeah, it's but I also do like being centered in Pilates too, just to as an opportunity to bring more attention to it, because it's like
Yeah.
this there's so much within this that that
Yes.
the word Pilates seems to be further defined, with the work that all of us do every day.
Yes, exactly. I just changed my business card to movement specialist for that
I saw that. I saw
because I
that. Yeah,
because I was
that's
like, oh, it's Pilates, but there's more, right? Like there's really more. Um, yeah.
yeah. So what got you into it? Like, how long have you been? When did you discover Pilates?
Well, I discovered it in two ways. I discovered it almost as a consumer when I was in high school and then university and playing football. At university, how like going to a chiro to help my back was helping, but then I started going to a Pilates class as well. And in that class, I recognized that by going to that Pilates class, it was really helping to hold those adjustments that chiro was making. And it was almost like I keep saying it's like prehab instead of rehab. Like those 3 times a week became twice a week, and then once a week, and then like once a month I was going to the chiro because I was doing more and more Pilates. So I was just doing it because I took a course just because out of my own personal interest to just take care of my own body. And then fast forward another 10 years, I took a course and did like my full comprehensive course through Peak Pilates. And that's when I started to integrate it into my training with my clients as a personal trainer. And then fast forward again a couple more years, and then I did my like an actual apprenticeship, and then studied with a classical instructor and learned like the full system in a like authentic Pilates. So I've kind of had some different experiences in terms of contemporary to classical, and just continue to just dive deep in it with it from there. Like I love just working with people and understanding how it worked, with the authentic Pilates, and then weaving in what we're continuing to learn, and yeah, just growing with it from there.
So was it the so what was the hook? Like the injury brought you in, but like what kept you in? Oh no,
Yeah.
there's something within the movement that's so attractive, about it to me, and so it's like, yeah, I agree with you. It feels great after an injury, and so much of it reminded me of what I was going through in rehab, but there was something about the dynamicism of the movement, and then just sort of,
Yes.
how the and then the creativeness of the instructor too, where adding on more to just sort of the basic movement at the end, like if you're adding on like choreography or
Yeah,
just
like
going into different variations and stuff like this. And so that to me made it seem like there was so much more. There was an artistic version of this as opposed to just the straightforward rehabilitative movement. So
Yes.
was there something like that about it for you too, or?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, and just being an athlete too, right? It kicked my butt the
Yeah.
first few times I did it, right? Where I signed up for a Pilates for athletes class, and we're doing this exercise where you're really isolating the psoas. And on one side, I couldn't
Ah,
move at all, Steve. Like I was like one side, nothing. The other side, the machine wouldn't budge, and I was like, okay, there's some muscle imbalances here, and this is exposing me. So I felt that challenge. Okay, it owned me today, but I'm coming back for it, right? So
yeah, that's it.
yeah, yeah,
That's it.
it's
That's it. And that's hard because it's not, it's like, but my body doesn't move that way. So how do
yes,
I make it move that way? And
yes,
then,
yeah,
but the other side moves that way. Why doesn't this side move that way? And then you're looking at the instructor and they're like, yeah, you should be able to do that. I'm like, well, but how? And they did these slight little tweaks and adjustments there, and you can feel your body like, okay, I want to move that way, but I can't yet. And
yes,
then that's what it is, right? It's your body is a puzzle, and
it
your brain's
is.
trying to figure it out.
And and it's funny because like now that having experienced that as you did, don't you get that high when a client has that aha moment?
That's why I do it.
That's why I do it. That legit, that is why I feel like I'm chasing after that aha moment for people where they can do that exercise that I showed them 6 months ago that seemed impossible when I demonstrated and they couldn't move. And now they got it, and they've recruited the right muscles, and they've relaxed the right muscles, and they've engaged the right piece of their body, and it just flows. And you're
Yeah.
just like, yes, this
Oh,
is what we've.
I am clapping in class. I am fist pumping. I am like just yelling at the ceiling. I get so fired up when I see that with people. I mean, yeah, that's why we do this as teachers, right? Is to see that progress. And it's
Yes.
and yeah, it's a similar feeling if you're teaching somebody math or something at school, but it's just like the way that your body feels when it can move properly. It's beyond exercise. It's one thing to do a bicep curl. Yeah, I curled this much weight, but it's
Yes.
another thing to move your arm around in a way that your shoulder didn't allow previously. And I haven't been able
Right.
to circle my arm around like that in 15 years, Steve. It's like, yeah,
Yes.
well,
Yeah.
look at what this is. And
Mhm.
just to see that in their face, that realization,
Yes.
and to know that you played a part of that,
Right.
is is
Yeah.
is great.
It's so good. Hey, you
Yeah.
had a post. When did you turn 45?
End of July.
End of July. I'm 45 as well. So welcome to the club.
Thank you very much. It feels great.
It feels good, doesn't it? Like 45 is pretty good. And
Yeah.
your comments, or sorry, your post there, you said you're healthier, stronger, confident, better, career's in a good spot. You have opportunities in front of you. You're grateful. Your mental and physical good spot, and you're in control in your life.
I feel like it. I feel like it. I mean, as much as with the caveat of a global pandemic.
Right.
But I mean, but yeah, I feel like I've gotten to a place where I've been able to make good decisions that have gotten me to this spot. And yeah, Pilates is a foundation to my life, and I just don't care how it sounds anymore. It sounds cheesy at first when you try, what's Pilates? Oh my God, it changed my life. It's done this and this and this. It sounds so a little cheesy, but um, having it as like a foundation in my life, I know that I'm going to get good movement of my body every single day. I know that's what it needs. And in
Yes.
order to move that way, my mind is connected to that movement. And I know the benefits that's going to come from that thought process. And then that thought process sticks with me. And again, I take that sort of approach to the way that I'm going to move throughout my day. And so then that's got me making good decisions on what kind of fuel am I going to put into my body? Well, I need stuff that's going to actually fuel my brain as well. And then that's going to give me the right energy to get through the day and to think the way that I need to critically. And set me up for making the best decisions. And then yeah, every year, man, every year my birthday comes around, I'm like, I'm older, we should be complaining and breaking down, right? But
Yeah.
I just if this is my approach every single day, I feel like I'm making progress. I'm moving forward, and we call that getting
Yes.
older. But I feel like I'm moving forward.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
like there's more improvement to come, man. This is not, I'm not done. I'm not just standing steady here. You know, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I'll squeeze as much out of this life as I can.
No doubt. What my client I had this morning, he's 72 years old and he's teaching himself how to play the drums like he did when he
Oh,
was
that's
like,
so great.
and when he played when he was like 15, 16, 17, and dropped it as he moved on with his life. And now just picked it back up again. And the brain connecting to the movement and just a discipline now. He's saying, I have the discipline now that I didn't have when I was 17 playing. I can work on
Yeah.
something for 5 minutes on the same beat for 5 minutes that I would do for 15 seconds and then find something else to do. And from there, the conversation went to the fact that even in his 70s with his Pilates and with his workouts and going through injuries and stuff, he's still ascending. He's not descending at 70. And I feel like that's the path that we're on. Like this 45, at 50, you're going to have a similar post saying like, things are getting better. I'm looking stronger. I'm feeling great. Like we keep climbing every year, man. So like, I love that post.
You know what my post is going to be when I turn 50?
What's that?
Not even halfway there yet.
Yes, sir.
Not even halfway there yet, man. Let's keep going. Let's take this as we can, as long as we can feel good. There's so
Yes.
much great stuff in this world, and it's like, I want to see more of it. I want to meet more people. You know, get connected to people like yourself, and just share passions that we have, whether it's for Pilates, whether it's for travel, whether it's for good food, whether it's for, you know, art,
Right.
whatever it is. Just meet people, experience different things in this world,
Yes.
and yeah,
Yeah.
squeeze as
And
much out of it as possible.
no doubt. Meanwhile, in the comments section, I think Lisa and Pat and Caroline are going to start a t-shirt business that say "Ascend until the end."
Awesome.
Yeah. Yes. No, that is so true. And okay, so one of the questions I always ask people is, who is your ideal client? You think about the people who are coming into your space right now and the things that you're passionate about. There's always someone in our world that we're just like, if they walked in the door, I would, if money was no object, I would train them for free for the rest of your life just because you love their passion, the way they move, or the sport they're training for, or the injury they're trying to overcome, whatever it is. Who's your
Well,
ideal client?
um, I heard you ask this question a couple of times, so I've already attempted to answer it multiple times, and my answer is Jennifer Aniston.
Okay. Okay.
No, no, she's the go-to just because she's just a long time crush back from like when in high school, and then you come to
Right.
find out that she does Pilates, and just like, oh my God, she's perfect.
Yeah, let me train
No,
you.
but shout out to you, Jen. I'm sure you're watching. Next
Yeah.
time you're in Phoenix, come. I'll hook you up with session. No,
We'll take her on the replay.
yes, please. No, I don't. My ideal client is somebody that wants to make this work for them. Because at first when you're going through teacher training, you're like, well, who do I want to teach? And you have these ideas of who you want to teach, and then they come in and it's not what you expect, it's yeah, you don't necessarily get what you want from this space. You get sort of what you need from it, and
Yes.
you need to the good instructors are going to adjust around that, realize what they need sometimes is different than what they want, and then sometimes the two
Yes.
can meet.
Yeah.
But no, I get, there are clients that come in and you're just gonna be like, yes, I can't wait, we are going to do so many things, I'm going to have you doing backflips on the top of the Cadillac, and it's going to be so much fun, and the session goes great, and then you never hear from them again. And then you've got other
Right.
people that walk in, you're just like, what am I going to do with you? I have no idea what I'm going to do. And then you know, 6 months later, you've got this great relationship with them. They've made all sorts of
Right.
progress, and it's something that was totally confusing to you when you first walked in. So no, it's my ideal client is somebody that wants to see if this will do for them, sort of what it did for me. And if
Mhm.
I can sort of share, you know, my passion for that in a way, then we come together like that, you know, and it's and it works for both of us.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. And it just speaks, I mean, you just ooze with passion for this, which people have already commented on. Like, I love it.
I do, man. I don't get it, and it seems a little silly, and it seems a little cheesy at times too. But man, there's nothing else that I've done in my life that I've had this much passion and enthusiasm for. And it's one of those things, you know. It's like it doesn't feel like I'm working. You know, like when I come in on my birthday and people are like, why didn't you cancel class? Like I teach Pilates. Like, what do you mean? Why would I cancel class? Like, don't you want the day off? What would I do? I mean, obviously I could go do stuff, but I was like, but my day includes Pilates, and like I like all of you.
Right.
I want to
So
see you
too.
on my birthday. So
Yeah.
no, yeah, it really doesn't feel like working, you know. And I mean, turning around, leaving the studio every night, making sure that everything's closed and locked. I also take a second to be like, man, look at this space, and I get to be a part of this, and this is
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
so much better than sitting in an office like I used to do,
Yes.
typing on a keyboard. Ugh, never again.
Never again. I'm sensing some gratitude and
For sure. For
yeah.
sure. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely trying to practice being grateful, trying to practice gratitude, and, you know, just inspire others to feel the same in their life for whatever that they may be passionate about.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I've been musing on the thoughts of transition, and I have a conference to speak on this topic of, and so I'm always feeling out for people. Are they like, do you hope to like own your own studio space at some point, or what is the end goal for your Pilates business? Like the narrow business line, what's the end goal for your Pilates business?
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to have an
Undetermined.
answer for it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I,
Yeah.
I don't have an answer for it because it's gonna be it's gonna be organic, whatever it is. And I don't I don't know that I would own a space on my own, just because there's so much that goes into running a business that I know that I'm not good at, and then I know that I don't want to do. And then so
Yeah.
I don't want to find myself in a trap to where well, Pilates is my passion. Well, open a studio. Well, okay, but like chasing leads is not a passion. Trying to
Yes.
make a schedule is not a passion. Payroll is not a passion. You
Right.
know, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
my passion is teaching Pilates, and that's what I do, and I show up and I do it. I love being more involved and helping, you know, helping the studio to succeed, and anything that I can do as a lead instructor. You know, and I mentioned earlier that we have the teacher training program
Yes.
that we conduct, and that's very attractive to me. I see myself gravitating more towards that. I already get to work with a lot of our instructor trainees that come, and they, you know, they observe classes, and they've got questions and stuff. So it's great to get to take time to work with them, and I enjoy that just as much as I enjoy teaching my classes.
Yes.
So, and then that's time that I give away. So I like that. That's a way for me to give back there,
Mhm.
and then that's a way for me to learn as well. You know, when they are
Yes.
talking about um, this exercise, that, oh my God, what exercise is this? I haven't taught that in 4 years. What is this again? You're like,
Yes.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's amazing. And then it's like, now I've got more exercises to teach. It's like, oh yeah,
Right.
you
Yes.
already knew this one, but and then you know, you find out more about the way that you're teaching, um, as you see how they're learning. And so it's great.
Yes.
It's like I say that I enjoy working with them and helping teach them, but God, it makes me so much. It's making made me such a better teacher.
Yeah. It makes you so
You
much
know,
sharper, right?
yeah, because you see all those little details. It's like you're literally going back and through your study book that started this whole thing. So it's like
Right.
I'm just getting so much better at refining the material. Um, then I love doing that. Oh, sorry, that's my dog barking. Apparently she needs to get
Okay.
out here.
Yeah.
But no, it's I love doing this. I love how passionate I am about it, and I love sharing it with people.
Yes. No, that's great, man. The and that's true leadership, and I love your appetite for learning, and that's really what sets apart, you know,
Like,
teachers, right? Like who are really gonna be great about it and passionate about it, and those who will just fizzle out because they're not getting anything out of the work anymore.
right. Yeah. And again, that's what is it about Pilates that makes me want to learn so much more about it? I've never wanted to learn so much about one particular topic before. And yeah, when there are workshops, I'm all about it. I'm like, look, dive in. We've had 3 workshops over the last 3 weeks, and so it's been great. Got to do some. Now that we're able to get back into the studio and get people moving together, we've been able to have some workshops, and
Right.
it's great. Got to brush up on some jump board and some more advanced Cadillac work, and
Yeah.
finally got to do some studying on the split pedal chair too. So
Okay.
a lot,
Yeah. There you go.
yeah. So much more of that to come too. I'm just really excited with the way that we are sort of positioned here. Because here in Arizona, especially in the Phoenix area, this Pilates is exploding,
Is
and
it?
it's been fairly popular in like the Scottsdale part of town, which is a more sort of affluent area. So
Yes.
we've had studios there for a while, and then a couple here through across the valley. But really over the last like 4 or 5 years, and I think that the growth of companies like Club Pilates have a lot to do with that. Is
Yes.
that there are so many I mean, speaking of Club Pilates, there's so many of those here in the valley. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and you hear some complaints about that too from people that have been in the industry for a long time because it's a different style that they're
Yes.
bringing. But ultimately, and they have locations up in Canada too. I'm sure they've got some in.
There's like two. There's like one or two. I looked into it. In like Edmonton area, but the business model doesn't work here, because
Yeah.
like retail spaces cost a lot more,
Mm,
right? So it comes down to formulas, like if the space costs X, then you can't charge Y, or you need more people in the space, which you need more space for. Like it's just circular pattern where it just doesn't make sense. So they haven't really popped up here. I'm familiar with it. And I actually
yeah.
explored bringing one to the Toronto area, but like numbers wise, it didn't make sense at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting what they're trying to do, to try and make a model that's more affordable for people. And in order to do that, the class sizes have to get bigger. And I actually
Yes.
taught at a couple, and I'm very grateful for that experience because figuring out how to get 12 people to move on a reformer at once safely,
Yes.
that can be that can be a challenge. And there's
Right.
a completely different not style, but rules. There are things that
Yes.
there are exercises that are off limits when you got 12 people on a machine at once. And I get
Yes.
that, but I'm coming from a place where we teach at Remedy, to where it's just like you've been taught the repertoire, and now you go and you do what you do. And
Yes.
now it's like, okay, wait a minute. How do I do what I'm trying to do here with these people?
Hmm.
And then that was great too, because I learned so much from that experience, because I also had so many people that were new to Pilates, at the
That's the
studios where,
exciting part, right?
yes, it's exciting, and it's also frustrating because, I
Hmm.
want to, let's say everybody's going to be doing, standing advanced work, right?
Right.
No,
Yeah. No.
no, they're not.
Yeah.
We need to be seated on the box a little bit more because we just don't have quite that core stability yet. So,
Right. Yes.
so yeah, you have to figure out a way to, how are you progressing 12 people along at the same time? And then,
Hmm.
because some of them are moving faster than others, and how do
Yes.
you keep them interested while at the same time still moving,
Yeah.
a lot of these people. So that was a challenge for me. I definitely pushed boundaries. I felt like my people were safe the whole time, but I don't work there anymore, so I can say that I was definitely breaking some rules. I was definitely pushing
Yeah.
some boundaries as far as like
Yeah. Yeah.
what we were allowed to do. But you read the room, you read your people,
You
and
read
it's
your
like,
people. Yeah.
yeah, and it's just like I understand why we don't want to do this exercise, but I've had these people now for 8 weeks, and we've got no issues with this, and they need to progress, and we're gonna try this, and we're gonna push them a little bit. And guess what? They love that. People love to
Mhm.
be pushed. People love to be taught.
Yes. But you have to be a really, well, for lack of a better word, good teacher, right? Like, I mean, you could set them up for any exercise, but it's just how long that setup's going to take. So in a group that's dynamic like that, that's large, and people at different skill levels, it might take you 3 months to get somewhere that would take you 3 weeks with, someone coming into your studio, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, or a
Yeah.
day if it's a private session. Like you could, I've done that with like we're doing one exercise today, and we're gonna take it down to its bare bones and rebuild it until we're at this gold star exercise in one
Yeah.
day, right? So
Yeah.
can't do that with 12 people, right?
No, no, but that leads me to something that I wanted to get to with regards to building classes. Like,
Yes,
as a new teacher, it's all about, well, you need to build your classes up, and it's like, well, how do you do that?
yes.
And one of the things that, and I don't know. Teach good classes.
I was waiting for
Teach
the
good
answer.
classes at a studio where people are going to come. I mean, there's very little that you can do because people have to walk through the door, and you can't drag them through the door. So, but there is a little bit that you can do. Personality is one of it. Knowing what you're talking about is another thing. But we all know there are great surgeons with poor bedside manner, right? And you don't.
Yes.
So it's like there's got to be a bit of a match there. And one of the things that I think has worked for me is, what do you do when you have a class that's normally full and now all of a sudden only has two people in it? And I can't remember I was listening to I've listened to like 10 of your episodes, like back to back to back to back to back. So I have to go back and actually see who said what and who,
Yes.
because I'm following all these people now, and I got so many more people, inspirations in this industry. But
Amazing.
that came up, and they talked about teaching an empty class like it's a full class.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
get that. I
Yes.
totally get that. And I've heard that too. I've heard Joe Rogan tells a story about that, about, doing a comedy set with the same amount of energy for 5 people that you would
Yes.
for 50 people. And I get that. There's another side to that. I have turned, a full class in that where only two people show up, and I just teach it as a duet, because and the way that I do it is, if I know those people, when they walk in, I'm like, I'm so excited. I have just the two of you today, and I've got a list. For you,
Yeah.
we're going to work on this, 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 and this. And for
Yes.
you, we're going to work on this, 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 and this. And then
Yes.
I use the other person as the demo.
Mm.
If it Because a lot of times, if
Yes.
you need to teach something, the reason why we can't teach in a group class is because everything slows down. But
Right.
I know this as being an instructor in classes. I mentioned her a couple of times, Kelly Snalen, my mentor. She does this to me all the time, where she will stop a class and put me up in this impossible position. She's like, all right, Steve, you're going to hold a plank on a reformer on just a yellow spring.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, for how long? She's like, well, until I make this point.
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
and I'm up there and I'm dripping sweat and I haven't moved and I'm just holding the plank, but she's cueing me the whole time. And then, ribs need to be together, navel needs to be pulled up, and all of this. So it's like,
Yes.
I'm not the person that needs that lesson, but I'm getting the work while she's teaching other people.
Yes.
And then that works. I've had that work for me too, to where it's just like, okay,
Mm.
great. This is awesome, because this person can now struggle showing you how to do this exercise perfectly.
Yes.
So
Right.
that's their work, while the
Yes.
other person
Wow.
then gets
Other.
to see, oh, okay, they get that visual,
Hmm.
right? They get me with my cues, they get the visual of the other person actually seeing it, and then they get
Yes.
to do it themselves too. So it's like that doesn't work in a group class, but and then this even still is technically a group class, but since it's the two people that just showed up, you know these people, they know
Yes.
you, they trust you.
Hmm.
That's like that's value add. You've
That's
just given
value add.
them,
Yes.
yeah, you've just given them a semi-private session.
Hmm.
And you know what? That's turned into semi-private sessions. That's turned into private sessions.
Yes. Oh, totally.
That's turned into private sessions from other class because, you know, they'll come back the next day and I'll hear them say, you know, yeah, man, there was only, you know, Lisa and I were the only ones here yesterday, and we did this and we did this and we did this. And, you know, and then but the best part is, man, is seeing that improvement. You know,
Hmm.
when
Yep.
you say we're going to figure out how to get you to stop dumping into your low back on a plank, and
Yes.
then they do it and they do it and they do it, and then the next class on their own, you see they did it again. They got that lesson. They caught the
Yeah.
cue. It made sense. They changed the
Yeah.
way that they're moving.
Yes.
I feel like a genius.
That's when they call us magicians, right? That's when they call us just masterminds, right? When they find it in their bodies and we just sit back and watch them do it, right?
It's so
So,
cool though to be able to somehow pull it out,
yes.
to find the words to somehow pull it out of those and just to see the look on their face again. You know, it's like when that light bulb goes off, when the wheel
Yeah.
turns and clicks onto the new spot on the dial,
Yeah.
and you know that they've got it.
Crazy. Steve, we just burned 58 minutes, man. Like that, like it, my 2 minute warning just popped up here on IG. Do you have like any kind of final words in the last minute and a half just for, uh, um, yeah, just closing thoughts?
Um, Hang in there, everybody. This is what a crazy year.
Uh,
I mean, we didn't even get into any of that, which is great, just because it's been so crazy. But
yeah,
that's
yeah.
like, what is there to talk about? But man, it's like this has been so hard for everybody. So I'm not sure how things are going on there. We're getting back to things opening up here, getting being somewhat normal,
Yeah,
and just
same.
hang in there. Try to just again, stay in control of everything that you can with regards to your health and your wellness. Make mindful decisions with regards to the food that you're putting into your body, because not only does that fuel your muscles, but it fuels your brain. And there's so much negativity out there now, man, that we need to be doing everything that we can to put positivity out there,
No
bring people
doubt.
back to love. How's
No
that?
doubt. That was solid, man. That's and I
Hey,
think it's the one last thing I was going to say too is the fact that we didn't touch on COVID or racism stuff. It's sometimes it's good to just come back to our passions. That fuels us and gets us centered for handling all the other stuff that's going to come at us. So man, I just really appreciate just a
well,
life-giving
let's
conversation.
yeah, let's do this again, man, because I would love to get into some of that stuff too. Man,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
find all of this stuff interesting. I find you interesting. I didn't ask you nearly enough questions, so let's do a
Yeah.
part two.
We'll do it, man. Sounds good.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks so much.
Take care, Mark.